If you're gonna take on and remake a classic Hitchcock film, then you better make sure that it's gonna be better than the original, or just as good, or completely different. Well, we got a brand new one right here. Let's talk about it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new movie review. Today I'm going to be discussing Netflix's brand new original film, Rebecca, which stars the likes of Lily James, Armie Hammer, Keely Hawes, Kristin Scott Thomas, and it's directed by Ben Wheatley. And it's about a young newlywed arrives at her husband's imposing family estate on a windswept English coast and finds herself battling the shadow of his first wife, Rebecca, whose legacy lives on in the house long after her death. Like I said, the original film is directed by Hitchcock, who is one of the best directors who ever lived. And when you want to take on one of his films, it definitely is going to be hard to, because for me, I think you just got to do a different interpretation of it. And hearing Ben Wheatley was going to direct this, I actually got really excited about this film, because Ben Wheatley is one of the most unique directors who is out there in the space right now. Free Fire, shouldn't have worked, but it did. And when you look at High Rise, that's another unique film. I love what Ben Wheatley is able to do as a director, and again, him taking this on, I was looking forward to it. Sadly, though, I didn't love this film. I actually felt very disappointed by this movie. I was very much looking forward to it. A great cast, great director, really great writers on board, and I just walked away just feeling meh about it. And if it comes down to recommending what Rebecca film you should watch, I just tell you to watch the original. This film is fine. It's not bad. It's not great. It's just fine. There are excellent performances throughout the year that we will definitely talk about, but I just wanted more from this film, especially when I hear that Ben Wheatley's directing this, because it didn't feel like a Ben Wheatley film. It felt like a typical remake of a famous movie that many people love. Of course, if you guys are new here, though, and you guys just love talking movies, I want to keep talking movies with you guys down below in the comment section, so make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss out on content like this over here on a daily basis. As well, guys, again, comment down below and let me know your guys' thoughts. Are you guys excited for this film? Are you not? Let's discuss it all down there. I mean, straight off the bat, there are some good things about this film that I do really want to mention. First off, the psychological tension that really this film is all centered around is still pretty good in here. Not as great as the original, but pretty good in here. That feeling of feeling like a stranger in this scenario, in this setting, or maybe even feeling like you're still in the shadow of someone's footsteps. Ben Wheatley is really good at directing that and really making us feel like we're in Lily James's footsteps. And speaking of Lily James, she's great in here as well. Armie Hammer's great, and the whole cast is pretty good, but really for me, the big standout of this all is Kristin Scott Thomas, who plays Miss Danvers. I think she was excellent in here and absolutely one of the best parts about the whole entire film. I loved Miss Danvers in the original film, but for me, what I really was looking forward to is this new interpretation of her, and I think she actually does it in spades. She's great. Performances are very much sank into, and again, like I said, Miss Danvers does steal the show. Other elements that does steal the show is the cinematography. It's beautiful. The production design, this whole house that's built around, feels haunting, feels like more lived in than you would actually expect it to be, especially since the dead wife who used to live there, it really does feel like her spirit is within that house. The second she walks right in through those doors, something feels off. And I love the different diverse change between Act 1 and Act 2. Really seeing the difference of it. Like, Act 1's his love story, it's building up, and then she heads to the house. And it's like, oh crap, this is not great. This feels very off. All those elements really swing it about. But what it really comes down to this film is, while all those things were great, it's just not as good as the original. And again, I try to keep them separate, but the whole time I was watching this film, I was just waiting for something to happen. I was waiting for the tension to ramp back up. I was waiting for something to kind of come out of this eerie feeling that I got throughout the entire film. And while the atmosphere is there, and I think Ben Wheatley does a great job in directing that aspect, but when I go to a Ben Wheatley film, I expect something completely unique and different. And while I get that with the cinematography, the atmosphere, and some of the other elements within there, I just didn't gravitate to this film whatsoever. The piece of the original, again, I went in open-minded. I just found this remake to not have the intriguing moments that the original had. 2 hours and 3 minutes, while it's shorter than the original film, I still just could not. I was waiting again for something to happen. And finally, once it kicks into the third act, I could see all the elements that it was going for. But there's just something about this film that just never gravitated to me. I was intrigued in the first act. As the second act kicked in, I was just like, okay, let's see where this goes. And as it goes in the third act, I'm like, that was just fine. Because it's just a meh film for me. It's fine. There's nothing really special or unique to it. There's good performances. especially Miss Danvers, Kristin Scott Thomas, who does an excellent job in here. Cinematography is great, production design is great, costume design is great. I mean, I expect all that to be great. It's a Ben Wheatley, it's a Netflix film. You know you're going to get all that. But when it comes down to the actual straight up story of this, the psychological tension I expect to feel in this film, I didn't feel it at all. I felt it in the atmosphere, but as the story itself, I just found myself sitting there just lifeless. And I left the film feeling lifeless, not really feeling much from it. I think some people will enjoy this. I think people who maybe have never seen the original maybe will gravitate to this more. That sometimes happens with films like this. I know that there's a couple examples from me in particular with that. But after I was done watching Rebecca, I honestly won't remember this film in T-minus, honestly, just a couple minutes. So with all that said, I'm going to give Rebecca a C. It's not the worst film of the year. It's not the best. It's just fine. And some of you guys will maybe feel the same exact way, or maybe some of you guys will be absolutely just loving this film. But that's what's great. Let's talk about it down below, guys. Thank you guys again so much for clicking on this. You guys are seriously all the best. And make sure to head on over to Sandwich on Films on how to see films really. And just, of course, a big thing to you and a big thing to my Patreon supporters, because without you, I wouldn't be able to do this. Thank you guys again. And, of course, until next time, stay classy.